Okay, I think I am live. Again, this is the Monday at noon. We're going to keep going with an SEL, discussions of an SEL competencies, social emotional learning competencies. Um, and today I'm going to be talking about interpersonal skills, which is a competency in the social domain, social awareness and relationships. So we're going to be looking at, in particular, let's jump into the gather space here again. And what we're going to be looking at is, there I am, the interpersonal skills, looking at the question, how and when do we communicate effectively? It's a really good question, and one that I think might not be discussed enough intentionally and with purpose, especially in schools. So I think that's something that a lot of people want to do with, between teachers and students and schools and parents and other communities involved. They want interpersonal skills to be a focus. And interpersonal skills are worked on just through conversations, just through procedures, just through the everyday interactions that teachers and students have. So, let's actually just jump in to this fifth component right here, because this fifth component is an area of social awareness and relationships and should not be considered age-referenced skill development, since, a lot of interpersonal skills, will develop at different rates at different times. So basic communication between humans will differ between classrooms and schools, communities, states, countries, and it's not the intention, it's not my intention anyway, to define which interpersonal skills are to be taught to students or at what age. Teachers are encouraged to recognize and accept that development of cultures around the globe may not agree with the particular examples that I'm going to talk about, and that the purpose of this talk is to kind of promote the, to identify and develop skills with intention, according to the intended outcomes of whatever your school or community is looking for. Basic interpersonal skills, they might begin with students knowing how to say please and thank you. Fair. Understanding why we share and take turns. Saying no when it's unsafe to do something or being asked to do something. And learning appropriate ways to welcome yourself to a group conversation. These are all things we want students to be able to do. However, interpersonal skills become more socially divided as they get more complex, as students get older, as situations get more involved. For example, non-defensive responses to criticism and accusation. That could be difficult to learn through just experience alone. Specific instruction may need to be provided for students at some point in their development of these skills. And the idea of altruism, which is kindness toward others, as a strategic response to aggression. That's not just automatically learned by students. As students get older, these skills might actually require some amount of instruction, coaching, guidance, and in some cases, maybe even role-playing in the classroom to prepare for social interactions motivated by one emotion or another. So, for this reason, you could say that interpersonal skills are the catalyst of social and emotional learning. It links self-awareness and management to social awareness and relationships. The outward communication towards others of the coping strategies we've learned when dealing with compound and complex emotions, they could fall under the area of interpersonal skills. When students feel themselves falling into a power imbalance with another person, and they recognize the effects of that kind of outside negative influence on their self-esteem and their behaviors, the need to identify whether to scrap or salvage that relationship requires skills of interpersonal communication. And these interpersonal skill sets, they develop even deeper into high school age groups. For example, the recognition and communication between certain leadership styles, that requires the use and interpretation of certain words and phrases to ensure each person understands the other. Another example, the ability to identify merit in like social media content, to separate that from the individual who is sharing the content. You know what I mean? This whole area of social awareness and relationships, it's a key component to a person's ability to work alongside others and create positive and productive relationships. So what I want to do is I just want to quickly zoom in here to this Miro board, and I want to look at a couple of statements in my framework that look at this particular competency of interpersonal skills, and looking at the question, how and when do we communicate effectively? Again, it's not about saying students at this age should communicate in this way. It's about reflecting on how students are communicating with each other based on how adults in their lives, their teachers, their parents are communicating with each other, So there's only two strands. And I want to point that out because most of the other competencies have three. But this one only has two. And they're pretty straightforward. And it's about knowing when and how to communicate with another person in a variety of contexts, where the other strand is really straightforward. Know when and how to communicate with a group in a variety of contexts. So that's really, I like that it kind of keeps it simple and focused on recognizing interpersonal skills one-on-one and interpersonal skills within a group. That's basically it. So one-on-one, just communicating with another person, you can imagine a pre-K, kindergartner, elementary school students just getting used to responding to another person in relatively appropriate ways. There's going to be all kinds of new situations that students are going to find themselves in, when you enter the kindergarten classroom for the first time. There are ways that students have been taught to, say hello, and they'll be shy, and they have to work through that, and being comfortable responding to another person. That's a skill set that starts very young. And so from there, you start to recognize the effects of the physical proximity to others. Like, if you can sense that somebody is experiencing a feeling and an emotion, and you get too close to them, and you start to, there's an effect on your own emotional state based on your proximity to them, identifying the spatial needs of others, being aware of those social cues, one-on-one, that's important. And so, you don't reflect on that until you get over, just being comfortable with another person. So there's a logical order to these statements that when you're working with students, you might want to consider, how are these particular skill sets developing with interpersonal skills? So then you can start looking at specific words that communicate specific information. What did you enjoy doing today is a series of words that communicates an idea. And so you would think that it would start here. You would think that this would be the first statement. But again, until you're actually comfortable being near another person and reflecting on, the social cues involved, then, you're going to want to look at, well, what kind of words do I want to use to communicate what it is that I want to know about the person, And in a variety of situations, use words and actions to strengthen that relationship. When you give the person a compliment, what's involved, what kind of response do you might you expect in different situations and different contexts. So that's where you start to get pretty deep into how we use interpersonal skills. But that kind of looks at just the one person, the one-on-one interpersonal skills and relationships. So then the second strand looks at how you talk in a group. So again, it starts just being comfortable, being introduced to, hello, this is my friend so and so, and just being comfortable with that, and mildly engaging. If it's appropriate to shake hands or fist bump or wave or bow or whatever it is, just engaging in that group dynamic and in a comfortable and appropriate way. That's a fantastic place to start. You know what I mean? From there, you can develop into recognizing the effects of the volume of your voice, identifying and exercising appropriate talking volumes in different group dynamics, recognizing, making sure that that if a group is having a quiet conversation, that you recognize that and respond accordingly. That that one-on-one communication can adapt much quicker than a group. So when you're going into a group setting, you're going to want to keep that in mind. So that's something that you can instruct. That's something you can coach, something you can develop over time, in different contexts and different situations. And from there, you look at those specific words in the conversation from a timid or hesitant member of a group. Once you're in that group and you're talking, and you can start to identify the kinds of personalities in the group dynamic, right? And you start to identify words and actions of others that create positive responses in that group setting. So there's a order to the logic of developing interpersonal skills, and it's just a matter of recognizing that it's not once you are able to do one thing, you never have to do it again. No. These aren't check boxes. These are ongoing developments that throughout your life, you might need to go back to the first statement, reflect on that, and move through these statements as you're introduced to increasingly complex social situations. So, you go from high school to college to the professional world, whatever your profession you chose your profession to be. Each of those are going to be different contexts and different situations. And so you might need to reflect on, how am I going to enter this particular group? How am I going to identify the kinds of personalities in that group and respond in kind to those different personalities, and identifying words and actions that get a positive response from the group because, you want to be part of the group. That's why you've engaged in the group. So each group throughout your life is going to be a little bit different. So I think that's really important. That's really important about interpersonal skills, is that it's not a one and done. It's not something where you just learn it and you use that for all situations throughout your life. Everything is always changing. Change is the only constant, they say. And it's very true when it comes to interpersonal skills. So if you have any questions about this board, if you want to get together, meet virtually in this space, then there's a little link here you can click, and it'll take you to my Calendly. Happy to meet with you, and thanks for watching. I will catch up with you tomorrow at noon. I'm going to be doing this the rest of this week, Monday through Thursday. So come on in. I'll put the link in the YouTube page, and you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, the YouTube, LinkedIn, and yeah, again, thanks for watching.